Today, that is 11th April, is the beginning of Mahatma Phule's 200th birth anniversary year or bicentenary year. As we celebrate his 200-year-old legacy, we have to reflect upon the key themes in his thought and lifelong work, which are still relevant in today's times. While assessing contribution of any thinker, we have to keep in mind two things. One, thinkers are invariably products of their times. Their thinking is a result of constant engagement with contemporary times and the issues thereof. Therefore, it is very important to understand the context of their thought. Secondly, the thought of any great thinker consists of some universal and timeless elements as well as some transient and temporary elements applicable only to their immediate context. In today's video, we will see those themes in the thought of Mahatma Phule, a product of 19th century Maharashtra, which are still very relevant even after 2.5 decades of 21st century. Let's understand the context first. The immediate context of Mahatma Phule was shaped by 19th century in British ruled India, a period defined by rigid social hierarchies of the Peshwa legacy, spread of Western education and the increasing influence of Christian missionaries. It was a period of Indian Renaissance. The technological, military and administrative superiority of the British, coupled with the liberal values of rationality, scientific temper, liberty and equal rights, gave rise to a massive socio-cultural churning in the Indian society. The first generation of thinkers were grappling with challenges posed by the West and reassessing the social and cultural backwardness of their own society in that light. The colonial challenge induced two prominent reactions in that period. One, a revivalist stream of thought which sought to glorify the Indian past and reassert the superiority of Vedic Hindu culture to counter the onslaught of Western modernity and spread of Christianity. Another stream of thought included liberal social reformers such as Lok Hitwadi, Justice Ranade, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who focused on internal religious reforms and modernization of social customs through platforms like the Prarthana Samaj in Maharashtra and Brahmo Samaj in Bengal. Mahatma Phule's thought is a radical departure from both these streams of thought and presents an ideology of social revolution. Through his scathing attack on structural exploitation of Shudrati Shudras, that is the lower castes and untouchables, and women at the hands of Brahminic elite. Yes, Phule was not just a social reformer like the others who accepted the overall socio-cultural framework but just wanted to modify certain aspects of it. No, he, on the other hand, wanted to smash and destroy the entire exploitative socio-cultural framework based on caste hierarchy backed by religious traditions. He advocated for rationalism, human rights and universal education as the primary tools for social liberation. Phule advocated radical anti-caste structural revolution rather than gradual top-down legislative reform within the colonial framework favored by the liberal upper caste reformers. Phule is often described as a system builder because he just did not seek to reform individuals' social evils but rather aimed to dismantle the entire structural hierarchy of Indian society and replace it with a new egalitarian system based on rationality, equality and human dignity. He presented a holistic worldview, a rudimentary theory explaining the underlying causes and nature of structural exploitation and tools for social transformation. Veteran scholar G.P. Deshpande summarized Phule's contribution as a system builder in the following words. Phule's canvas was broad, his sweep majestic. He identified and theorized the most important questions of his time: religion, Varna system, ritualism, language, literature, British rule, mythology, gender question, conditions of production in agriculture, the lot of peasantry, etc. Was Phule then a social reformer? The answer will be no. A social reformer is a liberal humanist. Phule was more of a revolutionary. He had a complete system of ideas and was amongst the early thinkers to have identified, in a manner of speaking, classes in Indian society. He analyzed the Dvaivarnik structure of Indian society and identified the Shudrati Shudras as the leading agency of a social revolution. So basically, to use the Marxian terminology, Phule identified the internal contradiction in the Indian society to be between the upper varnas on the one hand and Shudrati Shudras and women on the other. Let us see various key pillars of his approach to system building one by one. First, let's look at the structural critique of power made by Phule. He provided a systematic intellectual framework to understand the exploitation of the masses at the hands of the Brahmanic elites. In his seminal work Gulamgiri or Slavery, he compared the caste system to American slavery, thereby internationalizing the struggle and framing caste not as a divine but as a man-made system of subjugation. He presented an alternative historiography whereby he used the then prevalent Aryan invasion theory to argue that the lower castes were the indigenous sons of soil, while the upper castes were foreign Aryan invaders who invented the caste system to maintain their power. Along with the socio-cultural exploitation of Shudrati Shudras and women, he also critiqued the economic exploitation of the peasants. In Shetkaryancha Asud, the cultivator's whipcord, he analyzed how a triple-headed monster, that is, the bureaucracy consisting of British as well as upper caste officials, the priesthood and the colonial state exploited the peasantry. Secondly, he institutionalized his reform efforts through Sarvajanik Satya Dharma and Satyashodhak Samaj. Phule was not an armchair intellectual, but was a committed activist who continued to build institutions in order to realize the dream of ideal society based on rationality, equality and human dignity. He founded the Satyashodhak Samaj in 1873. Despite his ferocious critique of the superstition, ritualism and religious orthodoxy, he very well understood the moral significance of religion in the lives of the masses. As eminent scholar Gail Ombet puts it, he did not reject the idea of dharma, but rather attempted to establish a universalistic and secular religion that is known as Sarvajanik Satya Dharma. He insisted that the moral basis of society had to be centered on truth, rationality and equality of men and women. His idea of dharma rejected the need for any mediator between individual and the god, or nirmik as he called it. The Satyashodhak Samaj developed its own alternative rituals in the form of marriage ceremonies conducted without Brahmin priests, providing a practical alternative to orthodox traditions. It was open to all castes and religions, thus effectively building a counterculture of inclusivity. Thirdly, Phule insisted on knowledge as a tool for liberation. He placed great emphasis on education. His famous saying, "Vidye vina mati geli, mati vina niti geli, niti vina gati geli, gati vina vitta gele, vitta vina shudra khachle, itke anarthai ka avidyene kele," explains the importance of education, especially for the Shudrati Shudras, that is lower castes and untouchables and women. He viewed education as a systematic third eye, Trutiya Ratna, that can empower the exploited masses to critically see through the hegemonic ideologies. He, along with his wife Savitribai Phule, opened India's first school for girls in 1848 and later schools for children from untouchable castes. Long before it became a national policy, Phule advocated to the Hunter Commission for free and compulsory primary education for the masses. He did not view education just as a tool to get employment, but as a tool of liberation. He also proposed a curriculum which was relevant to rural lives, focusing on health, agriculture, and practical skills rather than just bookish knowledge. Fourthly, he advocated and actually undertook direct social action for social equality and human dignity. Phule did not just preach his ideas but actively engaged in direct social action to abolish discrimination against the then untouchables and women. He opened his personal water well to all castes, directly challenging the pollution norms that governed the village system. A really noteworthy initiative by him and Savitribai Phule was the establishment of the Bal Hatya Pratibandhak Gruha, Home for Prevention of Infanticides. It provided shelter and protection to pregnant widows regardless of their castes and their children, providing a safe institutional alternative to social ostracization. This brings us to another fascinating aspect of Phule's radical thought. He treated women belonging to all castes as the oppressed category. Phule's commitment to women's liberation was so solid that he was ready to attack his own colleague Krishnarao Bhalekar in defense of a book written by Tarabai Shinde named Stri Purush Tulna. It was a pioneering text of modern Indian feminism. Phule was well aware of the fact that as long as there is inequality between men and women in the family, there cannot be true equality in the society. He understood that suppression of women goes hand in hand with the suppression of lower castes and untouchables, and therefore he resorted to put an end to both. Fifthly, he criticized the exploitative system of Brahmanic hegemony but not individual Brahmins. Phule was fiercely critical of Bhattshahi or the Brahmanical supremacy. He always maintained that there is no doubt that the Brahmins were the authors of scriptures which have enslaved the Shudras. But I do not hate the Brahmin. I hate the system which makes one man superior to another by birth. There are numerous instances in his biography which show his clarity of vision. Let me give you some very interesting examples. On 2 occasions, Phule, along with his lower caste followers, had provided a protective shield to liberal Brahmins in Pune against physical attack from orthodox Brahmins. The first incident happened in 1849 in relation to the dispute with Dakshina prize fund. The Dakshina was originally a tradition carried forward by the Peshwas where large sums of money were donated specifically to Brahmins. When the British took over, they continued this fund but faced pressure from reformers to modernize it. In 1849, liberal Brahmin reformers like Lokhitvadi petitioned the British government to not limit the funds to Brahmins and Sanskrit literature and to use it for encouraging original literature in Marathi. The conservative Brahmins of Pune viewed this as an attack on their religious privileges and threatened the liberal petitioners with social boycott and physical violence. In this period of crisis, Phule immediately stood by the liberal reformers. He organized a group of his Satyashodak colleagues and untouchable youth to act as a wall of protection for the petitioning liberal Brahmins to intimidate the attackers. The second incident took place in 1875 during the visit of Swami Dayananda Saraswati, the founder of the Arya Samaj. Phule's Satyashodak Samaj and Arya Samaj had fundamental ideological differences. Phule rejected the authority of the Vedas while the Swami gave the slogan "Back to the Vedas." In 1875, Swami Dayananda Saraswati was invited to Pune by liberal reformers like Mahadev Govinda Ranade and other progressive Brahmins. Swami Dayananda Saraswati was critical of orthodox priesthood, idol worship, and advocated for removal of untouchability. This infuriated the orthodox Brahmins who viewed him as a threat to their traditional authority. On the final day of Swami's visit, the liberal reformers organized a grand procession in his honor. The orthodox group planned to disrupt the event by pelting stones and mud at the Swami and his supporters and organizing a counter procession involving a donkey to mock Swami Dayananda Saraswati. Despite his ideological differences with the Swami, Mahatma Phule recognized that he was being targeted for his progressive views. He gathered a strong group of his Satyashodak volunteers, including youth from untouchable and lower castes, to create a protective shield around Swami Dayanand and the liberal Brahmins. This led to the successful completion of the procession without any disturbance. These two are very interesting examples which clearly exhibit Phule's vision. Despite his critique of Brahmanical supremacy and his differences with Swami Dayanand Saraswati, he physically stood with the reformist Brahmins against the conservatives in defense of reforms, progress, freedom of expression, and human dignity. These instances also reverse the traditional power dynamic. The very people who were considered untouchable by the society were the ones providing safety and security to the intellectual elite of Pune. Phule also had many Brahmin friends and supporters, including S.B. Govande and others. Moreover, the fact that both he and Savitribai adopted a child of a Brahmin widow, Kashibai, and made him their legal heir shows that they did not hate Brahmins as individuals. All these points are testimony to Phule's grand stature as a social revolutionary and a system builder. Therefore, even Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar regarded Phule as one of his gurus along with Buddha and Kabir. Let us pay our respects to Mahatma Phule on this special occasion and remind ourselves of his yet unfulfilled mission of a social revolution he fought so strongly to achieve throughout his life. Thank you.